Good evening. It is 6 p.m. on Tuesday, March 17th, 2026. Thank you for joining. I'd like to call to order the South County EMS Board of Oversight meeting. This meeting is being recorded. Please make sure you are muted unless you're the active speaker. All public attendees are invited to participate at the designated time following the completion of the scheduled agenda items. We ask that you keep your comments to under 5 minutes. You're welcome to have open discussions in the chat function at the bottom of your screen, but please be aware the chat becomes public record. Remote participants must identify themselves or you will be removed from the meeting. This is being done for the purpose of internet security. If you wish to speak, please state your name and town of residence prior to speaking to the public record. First order of business is the approval of minutes from the February 3rd, 2026 meeting.
I motion we approve the minutes from February 3rd.
Second.
All right, motion's been submitted and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes unanimously. Next order of business is the FY 27 budget, and for that, I will turn it over to Chief Joshua Slovis.
Happy St. Patrick's Day.
Only we could find that pot of gold at the end of the rainbow.
No kidding, because that's what I'm gonna go try and do after this meeting.
For the budget, I have, four, behind the video packets beyond the minutes from the last meeting. There are 4 pages. The first one is, this new packet, was put together by the Town of Deerfield accountant, Holly. And, this was kind of made to more or less give more information than our previous budgets have had. So this includes all of the payroll calculations, which were beforehand in a separate document. And this is just for transparency. So it really mirrors what every other town department looks like. So on the first page, we have salaries. The second page is this white one here, with all of the costs to member towns and personnel and operations, service fees, all of that. And then the third page is a detailed sheet for line item expenses for operations. The fourth page is the South County EMS class comp. So this is not the Town of Deerfield class comp schedule. This is just for South County. And this is based on the select board's recommended 2% COLA increase for the year. So what we're left with. We've looked at several iterations of this, and this is where we've landed. And we can talk about any specific line item you'd like. The big takeaway here is we're seeing personnel costs go up for COLA, for annual step increases. Health insurance has been a big expense, not just to us, but to everybody. And so that's brought us up roughly $70,000 since the previous fiscal year. That's no new additional personnel. It's maintaining the status quo of the operation. From there, operating expenses, I was able to cut. It's pretty bare bones. It does not leave any real space for improvement. This is toe the line, make sure that we can operate to satisfaction, and nothing more. The indirect costs saw a substantial increase, and there's been some discussion about this with a couple of us. that, I know Fred Barron had brought up a question that you might like to address, but, the indirect costs are a evaluation given by the town of Deerfield to pay for the administrative fees, that they put into operating us. And so, Fred had asked me, a couple of days ago, how is that calculated and why has it gone up so dramatically? And, I don't want to put words in your mouth, if you want to bring it from there.
No, it's up 30% over last year. Over the previous 6 years, it was relatively constant. It wasn't always up. It went from between $60,000 and $70,000 over the last 6 years. Now, all of a sudden, it jumps by $20,000. Chief, I forwarded my question to the town accountant. And I will read you her answer on why it was. Answer. Your fiscal year 26 operating budget was higher than fiscal year 25 due to the additional capital, ambulance and power loaders. The calculation is based on what portion of the total budget is allocated to SCEMS. Fiscal year 25 SCEMS was approximately 5.5% of the total budget of the town. In fiscal year 26, it was approximately 7.1% because of capital. I have no idea why a capital expenditure of ours should get into either our operating budget or Deerfield's operating budget, and why that is relevant at all.
You're looking at me like I haven't.
Well, you're on the Deerfield, you're a Deerfield, I don't.
No, I'm not an accountant.
No, this is.
And also, it's a change from the previous accountant who may have had a certain understanding of it, and the current accountant. This is the first year she's done the
Yeah, well,
budget. So.
as she said, it's been out, my understanding, I think all of our understanding, that line item is to account for resources and services provided by the town of Deerfield.
Right.
And I don't know what our expense on an ambulance has to do with services provided by the town of Deerfield.
I could say, I think what we should do
I
is
see.
we should flag this and bring it to the joint meeting on the 30th of March.
I would ask you to, when we started this, I believe it used to be a set percentage of what the expense side of the business was. Because there was.
The operating expenses, I assume, not capital.
Yes, and at the time, we probably didn't dive into capital versus operating expenses. I fully understand what you're saying, Fred, and I believe it should be further explored. The idea was on the operating expenses. The administration of payroll and all the pieces and
Right,
paying the bills,
absolutely,
typing the
yeah.
warrant, all that stuff, cutting the checks.
No
I think
problem.
we can all agree on that, but to your point on the capital. I don't know how much. And I don't want to minimize the work that's done of our administrative staff, and I don't know how much they were involved in the capital piece, how much additional work it was, but I think it is something that probably should be discussed, and I don't know. From a selectman point of view, if you want to take this up with the select board before that joint meeting, or you just wait till the joint meeting, my suggestion would be.
I'll bring it up with Julie Chalfont and the rest of the select board at the next meeting, just
Okay,
because it's one of the areas that I was looking at as a potential way to lower this.
Yeah.
I mean, even if it doesn't reflect the total indirect costs, I mean, can we swallow it? Because our neighbors are, in difficult situation. We're looking at that for other things too, trying to come up with ideas that are gonna help, our neighbors, make their budgets.
Yeah, it's just that this year's number is so far out of line.
Right.
And the explanation that I got doesn't make any sense.
Yeah. And I don't blame Holly because she's new to this and she's just trying to follow past practice.
Right, but
Yeah,
But it's something that needs to be discussed.
Yeah.
yeah,
So looking in the IMA, there's, only really loose description that this fee will be paid. And that the three towns will pay for it, right? But it doesn't, there's no formula, it doesn't establish how this is derived, so.
Right, but still, it's supposed to be
Sure,
the service reimbursing the town of Deerfield for administrative services.
right,
Yeah, and I don't know if some of this, the description, the explanation seems insufficient to justify the raise. But-
To me, it's not insufficient, to me, it's irrelevant.
Yeah, well,
raise.
yeah, well, in the interest of getting Holly to her, I mean, calling you your sister's name, sorry about that, Crystal. I think we all understand your concern, can we just,
Yeah.
move
Yeah.
on to other items
Yes.
of the budget.
Okay,
We'll take it as, or, you know,
Yeah.
you'll take it
I'll
as something to
definitely
get an
bring it up.
answer
Okay.
on, and
And I'm not sure if the administrative cost of renegotiating, the insurance, but I don't see how
well, there was,
$20,000.
there was actually a second element of Holly's answer, which had to do with insurance increases, and yes, there were insurance increases, and
But
some of that may be passed on now. We're paying for our own insurance increases too.
yeah, no,
I don't want to
yeah,
necessarily want to paying
absolutely.
for our increases twice, once.
Yeah, when
once
the
on our
bears
own,
investigation.
right,
And once through
right,
Deerfield.
because again, on that capital expense,
Right.
none of us know how much administrative work goes along with that either.
Yeah.
So if there is substantial administrative work, we have an
Done by
answer.
Pat Deerfield. I assume that most of the administrative work was done by the chief in doing the contracts or.
yeah, so, I mean, I collaborate a lot with Holly, and I collaborate a lot with Sarah and Liz. Concerning payroll and,
Right, and that's all operating, so that all makes
That
sense.
makes sense. It just doesn't strike me as $20,000 worth of.
yeah, so, I mean, I can't speak to that. I know that they spend more time on South County EMS than I see them for. My interaction with them is very brief. It's typically, me handing in what's been done for payroll, and here's the bills, and, we have a discussion if there's anything to bring up, and that's it. There's the occasional one question, or workers' comp or something like that, but yeah, so.
Yeah, but also this answer didn't say there was additional. Yes, services, administrative services in the purchase of, it was the cost of.
Yeah.
The ambulance that, $400,000 that was somehow built in and now paying a portion of it.
Yeah, we've already paid for it. So, I think that's a good idea, if that could be brought up,
Yeah.
that would be really good. So all of that brings us to a total expenses of 1.93 million. Up from 1.84 last year. So I want to skip ahead to town assessments. This is the bottom one. What this does is it looks at our total expenses, the 1.93 million. And there is revenue below that. And we're anticipating this revenue. So we get the CPE fund. This year's reimbursement will be 42,798. So that's fantastic. That's a good help, slightly up from last year. And then the medical service fee estimate is based off of realistically, what do we think we're going to get? And then we're conservative from there. So 2 years ago, I estimated $800,000, and we certainly exceeded that. But the feeling by Holly's predecessor at the time was it's probably very sensible to be a bit more conservative than that and bring that down just in case, because you never know what's going to happen and you don't want to have a deficit. So I did that. We certainly have almost reached that already, and we've still got quite a bit of year to go. So we're going to do very well this year. So both Holly and I felt that it was very reasonable to bring that estimate up. And we're still going to exceed that 875 that we estimate. It's less conservative But the mutual feeling we had was this is not the year to lowball this. Because we're not contributing, we're not subsidizing the budget with the retained earnings like we've done in years past. We wanted to reduce the assessments as much as possible, so this was a really good way to do that. I don't feel that there's any risk, this is a very realistic number, that we'll exceed, but that's the reason for the change. So, to, the point of the assessments then, this is what we're at, it's roughly a 25% increase from last year. So we knew this would happen. When we went to special town meeting, this was brought up by each town's finance committee and select board, and this was voted on. We knew this was coming. So I don't think other problems were quite as anticipated concerning health insurance and concerning how our service is paid for through the town of Deerfield and all of that. So the increase is a big hit, but it shouldn't be a surprise to anybody. So
The increase in the assessment is not really due to any cost increase. It's due to not subsidizing from retained earnings. That's where the whole number's coming from.
Right. Yeah, that's what I'm saying, right?
Yeah.
Is that because we didn't subsidize it. So I think the important message to get out there, the point we, should really be trying to make here is this isn't the first time that this has happened. We've seen this happen on a few occasions where there's this seesaw budgeting act, and this is what I want to avoid. Of course, the budget's going to increase annually, but I think it can be a very smooth increase, that's
A more anticipated.
far more gradual, right? And so I think the important takeaway here is we really want to establish a capital fund. And so what I'm gonna get onto this year's warrant for Deerfield for town meeting is I'd like it to be voted on that we can establish a capital stabilization fund instead of doing this game where we essentially take our retained earnings and treat it like free cash, and sometimes we buy capital equipment and sometimes we subsidize the budget with it. I'd like to put smaller amounts of money away each year so that when we need a new ambulance in 3 years and 4 years, we discuss 3-year periods, that the funds are there. We can go to town meetings, they can be voted on, and we can use the money we have, and we don't see this massive increase. So as we put money into the stabilization fund, we will be delivering less to cover the budget. But certainly nowhere near like we did this time.
I think that's the selling point to town meetings and finance committees, is that reducing this and having a larger assessment this year is going to keep you from having the big assessments when we need equipment in future years.
Yeah, and that
This
is
is just year one of that.
right. Yeah, that is the goal.
Yeah, I mean, we wanna basically approach, the 2.5 to 3% or in a bad year, 4% increase as opposed to.
Right, but I think someone on the outside looking at this budget and saying, why are you reducing?
Yeah.
Retained earnings subsidy from 250 to 10.
Yeah.
And that's gotta be the answer, is to
Right.
keep that from happening in the out years,
Right.
to keep the assessments down.
And
And it just, this happens to be the first year we're doing it, but this will be our practice from here on.
We've been told in the past we couldn't have a capital budget. It all had to remain in the free cash that was certified at the end. So if we can do that, that's great. I've agreed with that. I wish we had stuck with that approach since day one when we started, because my idea was, to your point.
Yeah.
Continue to raise that budget 2 or 3% every year.
realistic,
Take all the extra money that was there and put it into some type of fund, so that not only does it fund ambulances, but when we need to expand space, there would be additional funding there to help cover that construction cost and whatever else that we needed. And unfortunately, we continue to rob the piggy bank because of crises one year after another. That's why when we started the rent fund, I said we've got to earmark that just for building maintenance and leave that alone and don't go in there robbing it. There used to be $100,000 we would float around and that money got pulled, so I'm glad we're seeing that. My initial concern was the $10,000 in retained earnings that we're gonna put back into this year. But it sounds like from the calculations based on where we're at year to date, that'll be fine because to your point, we're ahead of what the revenue forecast was. And we should be all right through year end. I just want to see from a conservatively fiscal standpoint, I want this thing to stabilize in just those couple of points every year and that we've got the money that we need. Not that we're looking to go and frivolously spend it, but have it there when we need the equipment. So to your point, we're not all over the place every time we need something.
Right, because we don't know technology wise, 2 years from now, there could be some brand new piece of equipment, state of the art. Boom, it's $100,000, we're behind the times not having it. It'd be nice to be able to say, let's get it, we've got the ability to get it, to keep.
Yeah.
Yeah, cause we don't know what.
Right,
happened around the
but
corner.
part of this is making sure to sell it to our communities.
Yes.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah, yeah.
And I think the other part is we've gotten to a point now, we're talking about replacing ambulances every 3 years. I fiscally, I want to be in a position so that whether it's 2.5, 3.5, whatever the number is, if at the end of a year, the dealer we're working with, if we're happy with that product, comes to you and says, hey, I got a leftover truck I'm looking to get rid of, I'll give you a deal on it if you're willing to take it. You could wrap it instead of getting it painted, so we don't have to worry about the color. Are you interested? And I want to be able to pull the trigger and say, yeah, we're gonna save our taxpayers 50 grand and the truck's gonna work for us. That's the one we want.
I can one up.
Or if God forbid, an engine blows, a transmission blows, we get into a wreck.
Sure.
We've got money there that we can go forward and do what we need to do without having to pull everybody together and emergency spending and special town meetings and everything else. And I just think it's fiscally prudent at this time that we start thinking about this as a business that's gonna have reserves to continue to operate instead of the piggy bank that would keep pulling.
I absolutely agree, we just have to be sure to communicate that
Yeah.
to our communities. It's easy for us to all agree, because we're on the same page, but you're gonna have people out there who say, what's going on with these numbers?
Why are we building a war chest?
Right,
We're not.
right, but that's gonna be the
Yeah.
question.
So, yeah, that's great. I mean, we're all in agreement about it. That is the goal. That's a dream. I would love to get us to that place, and I think we can get there. And I think we can get there in a few years' time. It's not gonna take a lot. We just need to be diligent about it. So the plan is to get the stabilization funds creation on the warrant so that it can be voted in. We can establish the fund. I'm not gonna put any money into it in the upcoming fiscal year. We just don't have it to put in. So that's gonna mean, I wanna delay any future ambulance purchases by an additional year. So this next ambulance purchase, I wanna do 4 years out. So I don't have the, CIP in front of me. It's a template I've been working on and reworking constantly. You've seen a very rough draft of it a few meetings ago. And as we get closer to the next fiscal year, when we're gonna start putting money into that fund, I'll present it again. And I'm gonna work with Holly on it a lot, and we're gonna try and get this where we want to go. So,
One question, do you have any kind of estimate? You say that the revenues are roughly at the level, the budgeted level.
Yep, for
Yeah.
sure. Medical service fees, we estimated $750,000.
Now, at this point in the year, what is your estimate of where they will be?
By the end of February, and so that does not include the 2 most recent cycles of payment, so those are not posted yet. we're at 638,000. And we still have, you know, a substantial amount of year to go.
Okay, so it's 638 in, okay, so. Matt's giving me a rough estimate of 950.
Yeah, if you take the 638 divided by 8 months that this is collected for.
Right.
And then multiply that by 12.
So essentially, given that we've got a 750 budget figure on that for this year. That should give us roughly 200 to go to retained earnings. From, you know, in this year.
If everything.
If everything, right, it's all estimate.
Part of what we need to keep in mind is if we don't have enough money in our budget, I believe the IMA states we need to have a special meeting in all 3 towns to vote money to cover it. So to the point Holly was making when you were doing the budget, we want to make sure we've got enough to cover everything and we don't get into that position. But
No, I just want to have an idea of where.
my mind went exactly what you're talking about when we started talking about this.
Right, because, you know, whether at this point, whether it's in technically in retained earnings or a stabilization account. It is set, you know, if we make a decision here, we're not going to touch it. Then it doesn't matter what the name of the account is. But that would be roughly 200,000 for this fiscal year.
Right.
Going in that direction.
Yeah, I mean, the good thing is that capital stabilization will prevent any future move from not having a historical perspective and saying, oh, I could tap this money.
Right.
Whereas if it's capital.
I agree, but for right now, we don't have that account.
Yep.
Retained earnings is serving that purpose.
Yeah.
And we're also looking next year at hopefully having an additional revenue stream coming out of Hatfield. That could.
I'll talk about that after.
Sure, okay.
The other thing is, I think as a fiduciary, it's just Deerfield that has to be able to create this account. I don't think every town has to vote on it.
That's correct. All right, so are there any other budget questions? This is the best guess that Holly and I have landed on. You know the situation, you know what we have to do. We know what's ahead of us. We have the combined finance committee meeting on 30th, which is outstanding, by the way.
I thought it was the 23rd.
The 30th.
What's the 23rd?
I don't know, let's look.
Have you spoken, Chief? Have you
Because
spoken with?
our budget has to be done by the 27th.
Well, in that case, we should send an email to the FinCom and our town administrator.
We have it on ours that South County EMS and South County Senior Center, all that is on the
23rd.
23rd.
I'll send a text now and just tell people, hey, can we move this forward? I mean, I don't know what Whately can do. Can you do that Monday, 23rd?
Well, that's just a few days from now.
Well, yeah,
That's
next week.
That's, yeah.
Have you spoken with Julie Chalfant on finance about wanting to create a capital stabilization and why?
No.
No, not yet.
As far as we don't have the FinCom meeting on that Monday, so we should.
Yeah, I'm just gonna,
You may not hit everyone, but on short notice.
when do they? Oh, Sunderland actually has their annual town meeting.
I don't know, I mean, Sunderland was part of the finance committee group.
Yeah.
Set it up for the 30th, so.
Yeah, Chris, you know, it's easy to, kind of just not register that, oh, there's something else happening earlier than that, so.
Any other line item or budget questions that I can go over? Because after that, I mean, it just comes down to vote to recommend that I bring this to FinCom or not. So if you have any other questions, I'm happy to address anything.
We'll just wait for Crystal to come back and then we can.
Yeah, my only comment would be subject to further clarification from Deerfield on the, on that line item.
Yeah, just sending a text now. Or should I put anyone else on this, like, you, and that way when they answer me, you'll know too.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'll do that.
Meeting that you thought was the 23rd, that joint meeting. Remember when I told you I thought it was 30th? It's the 30th. No.
as long as it's not, communication isn't going from you to the whole board.
No, it's only going to my town administrator and the FinCom chief.
And then they can
Yeah.
communicate to,
Yeah.
we can't communicate with each other. But this is easy because there is, you got 6 members here, you have a 3-member board, we can't talk to each other.
Yeah, oh, it's frustrating.
Yeah.
Well, while we're waiting, is there any public comment about the proposed fiscal year 27 South County EMS operating budget?
Okay.
Yours is the 9.
Yeah, I don't know if I can post it. Okay, all right. Okay. All right, thank you. Bye.
So I'm sending a text that'll be you and Fred will be on it, and it's going to our FinCom chief and our
All right.
town administrator, just to check on this.
Yeah, cause finance also thinks it's the 23rd. In Sunderland.
Okay,
Yeah, so I'm gonna just see if we can switch it to the 23rd, subject to Whately being able to do that.
As far as I can see there, we don't have any meetings scheduled.
But is that a good thing or is that a bad thing?
too many questions.
No, I mean, that's a good thing, there's no
Okay.
built-in conflict. I can't guarantee attendance, but
Yeah,
Be good to make a motion on this? On the budget?
oh yeah, I think so.
yeah,
Okay,
Yeah.
no other question, all right.
I'll move we have the chief submit this budget, again, subject to clarification on the town of Deerfield indirect cost line.
And that, the only difference that would make, it would decrease it slightly. It,
Yeah, $20,000 or.
Yeah.
right, but it wouldn't,
Right, it wouldn't make a massive difference, but yes,
It's not gonna increase anything, if anything, it would be a benefit.
right.
Yeah, I'll second that motion.
Okay, motion's been presented, seconded, any discussion? There's no discussion, all in favor?
I,
Make it unanimous.
So, and if we knock 20,000 off that line, Sunderland will get $6,300. You'll get $3,300.
Yeah, it's not,
But, yeah, it's money in the right direction.
right.
I'm not gonna argue. If you wanna give us a quarter, it's fine.
Thank you, I appreciate that. Moving on, is capital improvement, and, I've already discussed that, kind of within that, you know, there's no motion, to raise, there's no anything, it's just a work in progress. Other than the goal is to get that on the town meeting warrant in Deerfield. And so, I've been collaborating with, Christopher in Deerfield about this. It's moving forward. All right. Next thing is monthly reporting by me. So this is kind of twofold. So I have a couple of bodies I have to report to, my many masters. So one of them is Boo. Another one is the Deerfield Select Board. And I wanted to get a sense of precisely what information the Boo would like from me every month. And I'd like you to just have some discussion about maybe what's important, without getting too micro about this. We have a couple of options. So the last couple of pages, you've all seen the revenue expense report. You're familiar with that. To me, this is a natural choice, just as a monthly revenue and expense report where we're at currently. From there, the last page, this is from Comstar. This is twice a month, and this is a payment summary reconciliation. It just shows what payments have been applied during that period. This does not always perfectly coincide with what's posted, but it is a fairly good projection. So I can include this because it's easy information to get. I get this every 2 weeks. And it gives us a good idea of how things are going. But it's also not as useful as you think, because there's always peaks and valleys in this, and it changes. So I don't know if this is helpful. There is a more detailed report that I don't feel it's appropriate to share just because of a lot of protected health information that goes on that. So it's nothing I can really share. But all it does is it breaks these down by specific cases, right? Certainly if anybody wanted to see a redacted copy of that, just where I own it, personal information, I couldn't. Otherwise, we could look at response data that's important to you. We could look at whatever department statistics you want to see. I just ask that you please be considerate of my time and, not make me slave, a good part of the week over this. But any information you want, I'm happy to provide it. So I don't know if you want to discuss that tonight, or if you want to sleep on it a little bit and get back to me. Again, it's nothing that we need to vote on, but informational. If you want to email me or call me and say, hey, I'd like to see this, I can come up with a standard report, and I can just fill in the blanks every month and include copies of this as an enclosure.
Yeah, I think at the end of the day, we want to be able to, whatever the report is, love to see it posted, send it to all 3 towns, let them post it on their website. So if the public wants to see it, they can see it. But how do we tell our story to the folks who may not tune in the meeting or may not ever think they're affected by this until they decide either they want to be or they are directly affected and they call to show, not only the volume and the quantity of calls, what our response time is, which is important. I don't need the detail on the Comstar billing because we're going to get that from Holly when it's actually received and if there's something specific, we can follow up on it. But I just, how do we tell our story and tell not only the financial and the data, but are there other things going on in the department that we don't see that we want to brag about?
Yeah, so I could involve a monthly paragraph or letter or something like that, which kind of just details what we've been up to, what we're planning, successes, things like that.
Yeah, staff highlights.
Yeah, it's tough when you start, again, maybe the people in this room, maybe a quarter of our population will understand when you say our response time is X. There's gonna be a bigger percentage that's gonna see our response time is this number. And they're just gonna think that's bad. Right?
Sure.
So, because they just don't know, but you know what I mean? They don't know what truly a good response time is. Or they moved here from the city and they lived right next to the fire station, and so I struggle sometimes with actual numbers on response times, things like that. Versus, and again, I don't want you going out of your way to do it, but if you were able to say our response time is 15% better than the national average or than the state average, or you know what I mean?
Yeah, it has to be easily understood by the layman.
Yes,
And, yeah, and
And
like,
I don't even know if the state average is a meaningful number given rural versus.
correct.
yeah.
Correct.
urban.
Yeah,
And again, if you're below it, that's always a great,
Right.
right? Cause then nobody even cares what,
Right.
if you're comparing apples to oranges. It's just the fact that you're
yeah,
better.
and so when somebody says, well, if you have an actual response time of 7 minutes and theirs was 12. Then they can complain, but if you say we're 15% better than the state average,
Or, right, then,
then it
Then our
12 minutes
peers-
is like, well, that's, 25% better than what I could have expected. If
yeah,
somebody else
so
did.
that's why sometimes I struggle with flat out numbers.
The DPW chief does something like this, but he sends it to, the various people in Deerfield. But said, we did X, Y, and Z, we filled this many potholes, we plowed for 4 storms. We were out on the road for 36 hours, whatever,
Yeah.
but it's all sort of a common language kind of thing that doesn't have any jargon in it.
Yes,
Well, that's where I think some of that, staff success is, so if you did a child car seat installation and we helped out 10 people, or Zach spent 2 days installing XYZ on the ambulance or upgrading systems.
Right.
Or we've had folks go out to trainings and they've learned some new skills that they're gonna bring back, however we can help the community understand that we continue to advance and we continue to work on their
I
behalf.
think that and publicize any form of outreach, either that which has been or is going to be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We
Yeah,
were
we went to the
we
whatever-
were at the senior center, we saw lots of people, it was great, and we're going to be at,
right, at Wayne Elementary
Yankee
School.
Candle doing
yeah.
something. Next Saturday, we hope to see you there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Right.
Right, yeah, so like broadly, what we did this month,
Right.
where you can see us next month,
And any programs or things, like car seats that might be available to the public.
I think I can incorporate a very nice report for the public, as part of this that talks about what we're up to and our successes.
yeah, and even if it's quarterly, I don't know that you have to do it.
So it's, the obligation is monthly,
Okay,
so.
all right,
So that's something that I'm gonna distribute, not only to, each town administrator, but to the boo as well. And, what I'd like to do is maybe look at doing that the first week of every month, so that I can report on last month. And I can talk about what we're planning for the current. Some sense to me.
Yeah.
Okay. And if there's any public comment about that, I'm all ears, any information that people want to hear, specific questions, all they need to do is send me an email, give me a phone call, stop by the station, and be happy to take a listen. All right. I do have a couple of other updates. So right now, our state service license is up for renewal. The check's in the mail. That application is in process. That means it'll be OEMS inspection time soon. So we're slowly getting everything lined up and making sure that we're all set. We are all set. If they have, quiz visit us tomorrow, we can pull it together. But these are things I like to be really exquisite about. And we've never had any difficulties with that inspection, so it's great. I have reached out to a law firm, that does personal injury. Um. Claim loss litigation. Essentially, we don't really make any money off of automobile accidents, and they account for a pretty substantial volume of our total. MVAs are not billed through health insurance, they're billed through auto insurance, motor vehicle accidents. So, and more often than not, the information we need to process that claim is not collected at all, or is not collected timely enough, or if it is not processed by our billing vendor timely enough. And so I would like to see about reclaiming some of those. So the idea here is it doesn't cost us anything. Because the litigating attorneys, that we work with stand to do quite well for us. Because all of those payments come from auto insurers. So we could make a little bit of return off of this. We're not going after patients, we're not going after.
You're going after
insurers. We're going,
insurance company.
we're going to the insurance company saying, hey, this wasn't paid for, we did it, pay us.
Yeah, what, 3 years on that?
I believe it's 3 years. So, or no, they're looking at a 6-year period, is what they're looking at. So,
I thought you had to, okay,
I mean, so, that's just kind of, you know, FYI, that's something that I'm looking at, and, I don't see a downside, really,
how much administrative work is there for you on something like that?
0.
Well, there's gotta be something, you've got to at least tell them,
Sign the agreement, and they.
and they're gonna figure out who the
Yeah,
people
still-
were, the dates.
Yep, so the concern from me was data collection, because I don't want a third party collecting protected health information or having access to any of our data sources. So, the way that we're doing this is they will get all of that information directly from our billing vendor, from Comstar, and, we stay completely out of it.
Okay,
So it really is like very low risk for us, and it takes 0 effort on my part, other than just the maintenance of the relationship and signing the agreement. So,
so they'll work with Comstar to get the names and the insurance company, or whatever
You
they
got it.
have.
yeah, because the alternative was, you know, we supply that, and it's more administrative headache than I'm willing to commit to, so. All right, so that, I just signed our mutual aid agreement renewal with, AMR. I am not in agreement with their intercept agreement, which they sent out. They've added a line, and I'm paraphrasing. The language they added this year was either the intercepting service will only be paid if the intercept fee, if the transporting service collects the bill. Meaning, let's say AMR goes in, sends a basic life support ambulance to a call. We intercept them as the ALS unit. Our paramedic jumps in back of their ambulance and we go off to the hospital. Typically, we would charge them an intercept fee and they would pay it. What they're saying in this agreement is they're not gonna pay us that intercept fee unless they've taken receipt of payment for the transport. Right, so insurance is paid out, self-pay, whatever the case may be, and they put a 30-day limitation. So I'm not okay with that. If we're going to provide a service, I expect it to be paid for. And you know, we'll see if they get back to me. Otherwise, then we just simply will not be doing intercepts with AMR. It's that easy. We don't do intercepts with AMR as it is, so it's fairly academic. They run ALS, we run ALS. We have jumped on board their trucks to assist them on a few occasions as a second paramedic. But it's not like we're looking at some huge financial loss by not agreeing to their language. It's just a principal matter. I did sign and return their mutual aid agreement. That's a relationship that I really value. They've been wonderful mutual aid partners, and we've tried to reciprocate, and certainly we've been really good mutual aid partners.
I just asked a question. The 29th is when you're what, closing your budget?
27th, because we're looking at an override, so on the
Okay.
27th, we have to have all that paperwork filed.
I'm sure on their
I'm just.
intercept agreements, they're gonna get paid regardless of whether,
No, it's really clear that it's the transporting and the intercepting.
okay,
And so what I commented in my reply to them was, by your own language, you're never getting paid if you intercept, because, you know, I showed a little deference, like maybe our billing arrangement isn't as robust as global medical responses. But, you know, we typically aren't taking receipt of reimbursement or any collections within 30 days from the time of call. Like, that's unheard of, right? So like, if that's the case, then, you know, you're never getting paid.
Yeah.
Right, so it's just, it's bizarre language that, you know, was probably created in Colorado, and, you know, some very well-paid people and, you know, nice clothing did this, but
Yeah.
it's, you know, it's not for us.
okay,
All right. I did meet with the nice folks at Conway Ambulance, and we had a discussion about potential. They're gonna get back to me. They're not closed to the idea at all. They're interested. Their big concern is that they don't want to reduce any level of service or coverage from what they have currently. And that makes absolute sense. So I think if we can offer them, and we would be looking forward not to this year's upcoming budget, but to the following year. If we can find a way to offer them an improvement in what they have currently at a price that is reasonable, which I believe just the standard assessment will offer that. Standard assessment meaning they would be included into South County umbrella, and we would redistribute the percentages. They would be on the lowest end of it as far as volume and contribution. But I still believe we could do quite a bit for them. So to be continued, the conversation has happened. And, you know, we'll see how this develops.
Are you talking about getting them seats on the boat?
Yes. That would make necessary a revision of the IMA. The IMA itself is supposed to be renewed every 3 years, and I'm still looking at a 2014 copy. So, you know what, it might be time to look at that anyway. It is one of my performance goals for coming year, so hopefully we can look at that and come together with some language that is really.
Because I'm trying to reorganize the joint meetings, I missed a little bit about is it Conway?
Conway.
Okay, and can you just give me a 30-second encapsulation?
They're open to the idea, but want to find out more.
Okay, good, that's perfect.
All right, Hatfield, I have heard nothing more since we last met. And that being, their select board was going to take it up and we would have a discussion. That discussion has not happened. To be continued.
I assume the select board will have to take it up and then put line item into the budget to cover it.
It's gonna be a big, yeah, but if they wanna talk about it, I'm happy to talk about it, so. And. That is, and ambulance 104, our new ambulance is on the road. It's doing ambulance calls, it's fantastic. It's a great ambulance, it's doing what it needs to do. I put it in service as our impact unit this month to kind of work out the kinks and look for the problems without taking our primary out of service. We found a couple and they've been addressed and it's just going outstanding. So we're gonna start rotating the trucks, so that every month we flip flop from primary to impact.
Can you just for updates, when we do our select board meetings, when did that go on the road?
Oh, I don't know the specific date. but
Early March, late February,
Yeah, let's say mid-February.
mid-Feb, okay.
So that's been going really nicely. I'm spending a lot of my life at work right now addressing, policy review. So the SCEMS policy and procedure manuals, I want to start doing an annual review of those. And so we've given, each employee, a block of policies that are something that they're familiar with, or maybe they've specialized in it, or maybe they're fairly general in some cases. But I've given each employee something to look at, deliver me their recommendations, just to make sure it aligns with our actual practice. And what it's turning into is I'm rewriting an awful lot of policy, because it's just outdated. So that's happening and it's an ongoing thing. I'll be happy to present that to you when it's complete. I hope to have that in effect by July 1st. Otherwise, we've got some building maintenance going on. We're working on occupational safety markings, access, eye wash stations, signage, egress, all of that, just trying to make it more compliant. The building wasn't really designed with OSHA in mind. It was designed as an office that happens to have a garage on it. And we're working to address those deficiencies. We recognize them. We have a plan to address them, and it is happening. Aaliyah Kuzmal has been tasked with leading that and is doing outstanding. And that is it. That's all I have tonight.
Thank you for making sure all the stuff is getting done, but I want to make sure we thank the team members involved between policies, the folks who were involved in getting the new truck on the road. I know we're not in the building to see you personally, but thank you all for all the efforts that you put forth beyond taking care of the community to make sure that the service continues to operate at the level that it does. And we certainly appreciate all the dedication of everybody to make sure that our community is taken care of and that everything else is taken care of in the background.
So would you be able to move your joint meeting up to the 23rd? So instead of doing it on the 30th, do it next Tuesday.
I have to look, but I don't want to share my calendar over Zoom. So
Oh, that's fine.
Yeah, I think as soon as we log off, I can look at my calendar and we'll take it from
Well, we
there.
find out about South County Senior Center.
Well, we're working on that, but I just said, I'm gonna sit next to Josh, I can ask him. So,
I don't think it's a problem.
Yeah. But we'll end the meeting. Do we have any other?
I was gonna say, if there's no
I'll make a
other
motion.
business,
Well,
adjourn.
public comment, you want
Oh,
to check to make sure?
Peter, you all.
Good evening. It's good.
That's your comment.
Thanks.
It's a good evening.
All right.
okay, perfect.
I motion we adjourn. Okay,
You be.
second.
All right, motion's been presented and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Unanimous. We are done at 7 PM or 1900 hours. Thank you for those who tuned in on Zoom.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
I'm gonna open some stuff.